Hey folks, I'm best-selling author of The Power Zero, David McKnight. In today's video, you'll see part 4 of my interview with CFP Adam Olson, in which we discuss why Dave Ramsey absolutely hates IUL. We'll also talk about how to create a guaranteed tax-free stream of income for life, and then answer the question, is the federal government ever going to tax your Roth IRA?
It should be clear that, we're not preaching put all of your money in cash value life insurance like some of the TikTok videos that are out of there. We're saying, hey, take a balanced approach. Let's take 8% of your retirement savings, for example, and put into this cash value life insurance product. But there's still a lot of advisors, national talking heads that say cash value life insurance is trash, it's junk. You pay these high commissions. It doesn't do what it needs to do. But talk a little bit, if you will, about the cost associated with these contracts when we're married to them for such a long time. But then also, it's a double-edged sword. If I pass away, my wife gets a tax-free death benefit from the life insurance today and in the future. I can use it for nursing home costs in the future, the tax-free income in the future, but there is a cost associated to it. Can you educate people a little bit more about the cost with these contracts and how that works?
Yeah, and you talk about the talking heads who don't like
Yeah.
life insurance. And I've actually got a book called The Guru Gap, how America's financial gurus are leading you astray and how to get back on track. And one of the chapters is about cash value life insurance and what they say about it.
Yes.
What they say is that, for example, Dave Ramsey says 100% of cash value sucks 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Susie Orman says, if anybody ever tries to talk to you about cash value life insurance as an investment, you are to never work with that person ever again. Clark Howard says it's a steaming hot pile of garbage. Okay. What do all these people know that we don't? Or what is it that we know that they don't, right? Well, we just described a mathematically proven way to use, and here's the ironic part. Dave Ramsey is trying to get everybody in the world to take 8% distributions on their retirement because it inspires them with hope.
Yeah.
Yet he rejects one of the few means by which people can actually take 8% distributions on their retirement, which is through cash value life insurance. And the reason why they take this approach is, well, there's a couple reasons. Number one, they have to dispense one size fits all financial planning advice that appeals to the masses, and everybody's got to be able to look at what they say and make sense of it and see, wow, he's speaking to me, it applies to my situation. You can't do that with life insurance and annuities because it's not one size fits all. And you can't say, hey, it works in A, B, and C scenarios, but not D, E, and F scenarios. That leads people to believe, gosh, maybe I need an independent advisor who can help me with this and not Dave Ramsey. So they have to make it sound like their one size fits all advice is good for everybody. Okay. So that's the first reason why I would say they uniformly reject cash value life insurance. The second thing they do is they fixate on the expenses of cash value life insurance in the early years of the program. Now, the thing that people need to know is that the expenses in cash value life insurance are front loaded. And this is how I explain it. I say the expenses are going to be higher in the early years, but much lower in the later years. But when you average it out over the life of the program, it should cost you about 0.5% of your cash value per year. That's pretty competitive when you compare it to what you might be paying in your 401k, for example.
That's what it is.
Now, you got to keep the policy for quite a long time, maybe 25 or 30 years before that average internal expense gets to that point. But I just finished explaining how don't start this policy unless you're planning on keeping it till death do you part. It only really works. So if this is like a financial marriage and you're planning on keeping this thing for the rest of your life, we really shouldn't be fixating on what the expenses are in those first 5 years. It doesn't matter. It only matters what the average expenses are per year over the life of the program. And that's like saying don't ever buy a house because the mortgage, in the first year, 95% of your money is going to go towards interest. None of it's going towards principal, and then projecting that out over the life of the mortgage, right? It just doesn't make sense. And it's the thing about the cash value life insurance is it's actually much, much more favorable than that amortization graph on the house. It gets much better, much quicker. And so I think that they have to have these sound bites that appeal to these aphorisms, if you will, that appeal to a broad, band of America. And they just can't capture the nuance of these types of programs in these short little sound bites.
Yeah, no, it's kind of honestly sad sometimes when that blanket advice gets out there because a lot of people, it's stuck in their memory and they're thinking that, hey, so-and-so said this is not something we should do, so I'm not even going to entertain the idea. I mean, you've talked about it before, how using an IUL as a cash value strategy increases your sustainable withdrawal rate at retirement time. It is an excellent tool that people need to be considering for their retirement income. So I do have a question along with the cash value. Say we have clients that maybe their health is an issue. One of the clients, it's a married couple. I've done it before, and I think far too many people think that if both of us can't have this as a tool, nobody should be using it. But it's appropriate, right, in my opinion, to use it on one spouse and not the other if we're doing a planning case. Would you agree with that scenario?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, if it's good for one of the spouses, it's good for both of the spouses. If it's good for both of the spouses, it can also be good for one of the spouses, right? So there's no rule, there's no financial rule in the universe that says if both spouses can't take advantage of it, then nobody should take advantage of it. So yeah, I mean, you get what the insurance company is willing to give you, and unfortunately, not everybody's going to live forever. I tell people, I describe it in simple terms. When they rate you, there's like 30 different ratings they can give you. 1, 2, 3 means you walk on water, you're going to live forever. If you get the 30th rating, it's like they're holding out a mirror to see if you fog it. And then you could get everywhere in between. You got to be much closer to the 1 than you are to the 30. And not everybody is going to qualify, right?
Yes.
If you think of your life insurance policy as a bucket of money with a spigot coming out of the side of it, and that's going to pay for the administrative fees and the insurance, term insurance, annual renewable term. You start getting close to that 30th rating, those drops, it's like your money goes in and it comes right out. It's those drops get pretty expensive. And so it's not for everybody. And so we tell people that up front. So it definitely is appropriate if the husband, for example, doesn't qualify, the wife does, and it's okay putting on her. The one thing I do like to talk about is just the long-term care benefit on these policies. What do people hate about traditional long-term care insurance? They pay for 30 years, die peaceful in their sleep, never having used it, and they don't send you your money back at the end. It goes to pay for someone else's benefits, someone else's long-term care, and that can be a source of heartburn for a lot of different people. The way these policies are structured these days is if you can no longer perform 2 of 6 activities of daily living, you can find one doctor to write one letter to that effect. They will start sending you 2% of your death benefit per month for 4 years. For the purpose of paying for long-term care. Now, if it's what's called a chronic illness rider, they may discount that benefit based on the age in which you receive the benefit. But the point is this: they're willing to give you your death benefit in advance of your death for the purpose of paying for long-term care. And if you die peaceful in your sleep 30 years from now, never having needed long-term care, guess what? Someone's still getting a death benefit, probably your kids or your grandkids. So there isn't that sensation of having paid for something you hope you never have to use. So this is a real, in fact, Wall Street Journal has talked about these types of hybrid policies. This is the new way that Americans have completely rejected traditional long-term care insurance. They've just rejected it. And so most are using these hybrid type policies to be able to pay for long-term care. You have access to the cash. You can take money out tax-free. And if you die peaceful in your sleep, never having needed long-term care, all that money goes to your heirs. And that's a very attractive way to mitigate what is essentially a pretty grave threat during the course of a 30-year retirement.
Yeah, I mean, there's a high likelihood that if husband and wife live into their 70s that we're going to have a long-term care claim. And I tell clients all the time, this life insurance, again, double-edged sword. Use it for your own benefit while you're alive for the nursing home, or give it to your kids income tax-free when you pass away. So I know we've covered a lot of stuff today. It should be clear to people now that a life insurance retirement plan is something for you to consider with a portion of your assets, not all of them. Can you touch quickly at the end here, because I know we're running up on your time. Can you touch quickly about tax-free income for life and how people can utilize annuities to take advantage of those tax-free income for life accounts, and why now might be a good example to look at something like that with rates as high as they are, David?
Right. So we've talked about longevity risk. We've talked about one way to mitigate longevity risk or to increase the withdrawal rate on your portfolios through life insurance, but there's only one real way to completely purge longevity risk from your portfolio, and that's by way of an annuity. Okay, an annuity, basically what you're doing, I know that's a 4-letter word for a lot of people, but if you don't like annuities, you're not going to like Social Security, and you're definitely not going to like that company pension that you're planning on receiving, because they all operate by the exact same principles. It's a risk pooling concept. Okay, so you hand money over to an insurance company in exchange for a guarantee that you will always be getting a stream of income so long as you're on this side of the grass. Now, if the name of the game is simply to make sure that your money lasts as long as you do, we've already discussed that the 4% rule is the most expensive way to go about doing that. If you need $80,000 per year, you're going to have to save $2 million. Okay. And that's why Dave, like I said, Dave Ramsey rails against the 4% rule. He says it just robs people of hope. So if you have an annuity, particularly with these high interest rates today, you can now say, okay, I'm going to hand a chunk of my liquid stock portfolio over to an insurance company. In exchange, I can get $80,000 per year, adjusted for inflation, every year for the rest of my life. And guess what? It doesn't cost $2 million to get that stream of income. It costs substantially less. So if the name of the game is to not outlive your money, you can get that $80,000 adjusted for inflation for substantially less than the $2 million. It might be closer to, say, 1.3, right?
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you got 700,000 left over, and you can do some interesting things with that 700,000. You can take care of your long-term care needs with an LIRP on you and an LIRP on your spouse. You can put the rest of that money into your stock portfolio and grow it in a pedal to the metal sort of a way, because now your living expenses are guaranteed by Social Security, maybe a company pension, and maybe that annuity. So that gives that becomes your discretionary account to pay for things like the hole in the roof or the trip around the world, or you want to take the kids to Disney World or what have you. And so so two things that the annuity does that nothing else can do. It allows you to spend more money, and it gives you a guarantee that your money will last as long as you do. Nothing else in the world, not even Ken Fisher's stock portfolios, can do that. No, nothing else can do that except for an annuity. So that's why all of these reports, all of these studies that are coming out from Ernst & Young to BlackRock, everywhere you look, people are talking about the benefits of annuities. 30% into an annuity, 30% into life insurance, and the balance going into your stock portfolio.
Yeah, that is awesome. I always tell people you may hate the word annuities, but you won't hate the guaranteed paycheck that you get for the rest of your life.
No, indeed.
I mean, that is just the deal. Hey, real quick too. So there's always talk. Some people, hate Roth accounts, hate Roth deferrals because they say, hey, government's going to change them. But the balance in Roth accounts from a national standpoint is extremely low, right?
Yeah, it's about 5% of the cumulative retirement balances across the nation.
And so for me, it's like, the government's a lion, it's getting attacked by hyenas. It's not going to care about the fly on its butt that's the Roth account, right? I mean, what's your opinions on that?
Yeah, so not only is there not a very big target on Roth because there's frankly not very many of them.
Yeah.
But you have to remember the Roth IRAs are the one thing the federal government likes and everyday citizens like you and me like. Why? Because federal government loves it because it gives them more revenue today, because remember, it's after-tax dollars. And we love it because it shields us from the inevitable rise in taxes over time. And so there's not that many things in the world where both the government loves it and we love it. So I don't anticipate that the federal government is going to be getting rid of the Roth anytime soon. I think it's here to stay. If ever they were to change something, it would probably be a grandfather sort of a thing. Whatever money you do have in Roth, you get to keep in Roth. It continues to grow tax-free, but you just can't put any more contributions in there. But again, why would they do that? That gives them more revenue today. And politicians are always about what will give us more revenue today. Whenever they have these new spending bills coming out, if they need to bridge some sort of shortfall or plug some hole in that budget, what do they always do? They beef up the Roth the Roth offering somehow, or they require you to put a match into the Roth portion of the account because that gives them more tax revenue today.
Which we can do now, which is awesome for some plans to take advantage of that, for people to take advantage of the Roth employer contributions into their plan.
Okay, folks, that was part 4 of my interview with CFP Adam Olson. In the next 10 years, I'm looking to put 100,000 Americans on the road to the 0% tax bracket. If you would like some help implementing a balanced, comprehensive approach to tax-free retirement that shields you from the impact of higher taxes down the road, head on over to davemcknight.com and click on the Connect with an Advisor button. I'm happy to refer you to an advisor in the Powers Year Network that has been trained, vetted, and qualified personally by me. If you're a financial professional and want to learn how to become a certified Powers Year advisor, head over to powersyear.com and opt into my free video series. And if you have any comments or questions, feel free to drop them into the comment section below. I'll respond to every single one of them personally. And don't forget to click like, subscribe, and the bell so you never miss a video. This is David McKnight. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.